Hello, everyone. Welcome to RIN Data Collectors Training Module 1. We'll go through the outline for this training course. First, we'll go through the introduction, then an about page, and the data collector fundamentals, data collection methods. I'll run you through population demographics, the skills and the techniques you need to do the work, as well as the data for different sectors and the data collection tools. To give you a bit of an introduction, so I'm the team lead for the project research and data unit. This is a bit of my CV. On the right, you have educational institutions where I've obtained my training. On the left, you have organizations where I had worked. And at the center, you have a word cloud of my experience and knowledge in this space. Now, it is important to understand that data collectors are a crucial part of any project. Their responsibilities is well noted, and it is essential that every data collector understands the weight of this responsibility, especially as to how data is collected rightly and to the best of quality. Data collectors are the frontliners or the frontline representatives of any project. They gather this data directly from the source. Their work directly influences the project success. The data collectors must also be well-trained and reliable. So this learning objective for this training is for you to get the knowledge that you need to operate or to work as a data collector, and as well gain some lessons, because the knowledge you would gain here would help you also if you take up a field operations team lead role in this project, because we expect that some of you at some point will take up this role as a team operations lead in the different locations where you will be working. So some of the objectives for this training is that you would learn about the RIN project. You would understand the purpose and the scope of data collection for this project. You understand also the methods, the components, and the modalities of working. You'd also be prepared for the next section. It's also important to mention at this point that this training is for beginners and as well as for those who are experts. So whichever level with which you are in, you would find something to benefit from this training. And also this training can also be taken by anyone across the world who wants to learn more about data collection and all the principles and the methods and the ideas around it. So this training, basically to say, is for everyone. So let's talk about the RIN project. The Research in Nigerian project is a project of TELS Impact Consulting. It is a platform for promoting higher education, research, and innovation in Nigeria and Africa as well. The RIN data collection project is a service offering of the RIN project. So this RIN data collection that you have been enlisted to do or work with us on is a project offering of RIN. So we amplify, or we simplify rather, finding and utilizing of skilled data collectors. Our aim is to seek to remove geography and limitations in effective data collection. So for us, geography is not a thing. That's why we have data collectors all over the country to support in this whole process. So our primary objective is to simplify the process of finding and engaging proficient data collectors, research assistants, benefiting both the organization and also the research professionals as they're able to build on their skills. So I implore you to join us on this journey as we equip you with essential skills and knowledge to become valuable assets to the world of data collection. Now, what is the scope of our work on the RIN data collections project? Because you can collect data from different sources and on various topics, but for us, we do not collect from every topic. So we have tried to localize or concentrate our own strength or our own work on these specific areas. One is that we do data collection for academic research. That is, we support students, PhD scholars, and academics to collect their data. 3, we do marketing research. Marketing research, we serve startups for their brand and concept tests, business surveys for brand tracker, retail sensors, customer satisfaction surveys, etc. We do social research, that is opinion polls, government policy assessments, consulting firms and consultants who want to assess the opinions or the perceptions of people in the society on a topic of their interest. We do assessments for development partners, such as NGOs, the UN organizations, international organizations. We do assessments for them. And some of the things we do cuts across different sectors of their work, be it emergency response, be it WASH, be it public and environmental health. We do all of that. We do this via online surveys, okay, and we also do this via paper surveys. We also do data analysis and visualization, but this depends also on the interest of the client or the interest of the organization that we're working with, if they want us to go further. Otherwise, we would collect the data and hand it over to them as the work demands. Now, let's dive deep into what data collection is. Mind you, the service offerings or the areas of your work would define clearly the type of data that they want to collect and would inform them about that. Now, data collection fundamentals. Now, for us for the RIN project, as data collectors, we have broadly categorized the type of studies that are conducted within our space or within our scope as qualitative and quantitative studies, or you may say qualitative and quantitative research. The focus of the data collectors in this research or in this regards is that when you talk about qualitative and quantitative research or studies, is that one, that you're gathering information on facts, and two, you're gathering information on perceptions. Now, you will realize that when you are doing a qualitative research, qualitative in this sense deals with descriptions, characteristics, no measurements at all. That tells you that you are gathering information on perceptions. That tells you you're looking at qualitative data. Now, when you talk about quantitative research or studies, it means we're trying to look at studies that deals with numbers and measurements. That means you're gathering information on facts, substantial facts that can be verified. That tells you that we are talking about what? Facts. I'll give you some examples. When we are talking about facts, for example, you can say number of toilets that are in an area, or you can ask who provides health services in this particular local government. Those are facts. Then you are gathering those information on those facts. However, when you want to gather qualitative data, qualitative, it means that you're gathering information based on perceptions. For example, do women feel safe on the streets of Lagos? That is a qualitative investigation. So you are trying to know how people feel. You are trying to get descriptions and characteristics, which are subject also to the understanding and the whims of the words of the respondent. So, however, it is important to clarify another interesting aspect, which is primary data sources and secondary data sources. When we talk of primary data sources, this refers simply as data sources that requires an individual to go collect own data about a topic. However, when you talk of secondary data sources in research or in qualitative or quantitative research, it means data sources that are not collected by you or the individual who wants to utilize that data. Maybe it's collected by someone else, or is posted by the internet, or is gathered in some way or the other. They are secondary to you. It is not your own data, or it is not a data that was gotten directly from by yourself in that regard. So that's a secondary if you are the one using it. However, you're using someone else's data that that person has gathered and probably published it. You are using that as a secondary data. However, in the nature of our work, we usually collect primary data. So where are these primary data sources? They can be individuals, they can be in localities. So you go to do maybe some form of measurements or all that. So you are collecting that's primary data, because we are collecting this data on behalf of the contracting organization or the contracting client. So the data is so they are employing us, they are recruiting us to do this collection on their behalf. It is their own data. This is just to give you a bit of background to understand what we are doing and how to give you a bit of information so that moving forward, you can make the best of it, of this understanding while you do your work. Now, so why do we need data collectors in today's internet age? Many people will ask, oh, there are so many technologies or XYZ that you can use to collect data or this or that. Well, that is true, I agree. However, looking at the circumstances of our own locality or region where we operate, you find out that there is not much in technological penetration. So largely we may need to go and also collect primary data in these regards. And just to make you understand that we are also leveraging technology to collect this data. Yes, we are leveraging technology to collect this data because we use our phones, we make use of apps, to collect this data. We do not have like the very high tech to collect data in some sorts, because some data also, I need to point out at this point, cannot be collected by some form of aerial means or some form of high tech technology. Some data collection has to go primarily to the individual or to the source where that data needs to be collected. Another important factor in this discussion is that it serves as an accountability tool. When you go to collect data primarily or by yourself and you want to use it for your studies, it's important that you understand that the people or the respondent to your own information needs to have a sense of belonging, needs to have a sense of assurance that, look, that whatever you publish or the analysis you make out of that data reflects the true identity of the situation that you have gone to assess. Sometimes you hear people say, oh, we were not involved, nobody asked us. That is not true. When you do that, that shows you that maybe people who collected the data or they didn't go to the right places, or people will ask you, who did you ask? So you see the importance why it is for us to collect data, because it's a way of accountability. It shows that you are accountable to those, that you are accountable to the people from which you have collected the data from. And when you make your analysis and you publish your result becomes a reflection of their own opinions or situation as they have provided. So another important aspect is that we aim to reach the unreached and those that are what? Offline. There are certain people who are not reached during data collection or who cannot be accessed. For example of them are those that are offline, and they could be offline for many reasons. I give you an example. In Nigeria, for instance, you can see that the internet penetration or access is just possible for 61% of Nigerians. Now, the interesting thing is you ask yourself, who are these 61% of Nigerians that have access to the internet? 67% of them are men. 55% of them are women. You can see that about 45% of women do not have access to the internet. Only about 120 million Nigerians of our population of close to presently over 200 million have access to the internet. Now, if you try to make a distinction of the age groups that have this access to the internet, you realize that of these 61%, those who are between the ages of 18 to 35, only 70% of them have access to the internet. Those who are 30 to 60%, only 56% of them have access to the internet. And those who are 61 years and above, only 28% of them have access to the internet. You see that when you want to do a survey or do an investigation, there are some people that you will be leaving out of this whole conversation. And one of our aims is this, and one of our approaches or one of our targets, objective in this whole program is to ensure that no one is left behind. That's why we have taking it up to ourselves to train data collectors all across the country who can support every research, every type of study to provide a representative data of the people or of the situation, however the case may be. So now you see how important it is, or why it is that our work, or the work that you will be doing as a data collector, is very, very important. Now, data collection methods. There are different data collection methods: random sampling, key informant interviews, direct observation, measurements and calculations, and focus group discussions. There are also other models of data collection or methods of data collection. However, we will be focusing on these 5 because they are the ones that are relevant to our work and how we do our work. Data collection methods again: random sampling, person on the street. Another name for random sampling is just person on the street. The beautiful thing around random sampling is that it's a part of the population that provides that information. You simply randomly pick people that give an information about a population. Yes, it is readily available and convenient. However, this scheme is weak because it does not consider differences, spread, or even the number of the population in the area. For example, another important type of or method of data collection is the key informant interviews. These key informant interviews is an in-depth interviews with people who have in-depth or specific knowledge about a subject. They know what is going on. They have first-hand knowledge of an issue or a problem or whatever that you are trying to investigate. Example of them are local leaders, subject matter experts, community leaders, service providers, etc. Direct observation. Direct observation is a method of collecting data by your what? By your sensory organs or your sensory capabilities, by watching the subject in their environment. The purpose of this method is to check validity other than collecting of other collection methods and reduce bias. For example, checking available public social infrastructures or amenities in an area. If, let's take for instance, you have interviewed someone and you have interviewed a government personality or a government worker or officer, and they are saying XYZ is in our area, XYZ is in our area, this number of infrastructures, this number of social amenities, it may be important for you to go and directly observe to find out and to fact check the information you have collected. So this is another crucial method of data collection. Another one is measurements and calculations. In some type of data, you may be required to take measurements or calculate to obtain the information that you require. An interesting one, again, is the focus group discussions. You can see by the picture there, the focus group discussions is a method of collection to gather the perceptions or the perspectives of a group of people. For example, if you want to collect information about fish sellers in a particular market, you have to do a focus group discussion of the fish sellers to understand how certain policies of the market affect their own fish selling and does not affect other people or other people who sell other items. This is what we mean by focus group discussion. A focused group, you have a group and you're focusing on them to get information in their perspectives or reactions about a thing. And it gives you the ability to have a collective, to have a picture of a collective understanding also about a topic, and for you to check also any misunderstandings. So these are the methods of data collection that we will be exploring in this work. However, the choice of method by which you would collect data is based on the task at hand that you were provided with, or especially when you are matched with a job. During your task brief, the method with which you would use to collect the data will be shared with you. Triangulating information. Now, we use triangulation of information to check the information that we have obtained. For factual questions, that is when we are gathering information on facts, when we conduct key informant interviews, for instance, we can confirm it through direct observation and counting. You take a key informant interview, like I've mentioned with you, you can confirm through what? Direct observation. You go by yourself and observe and observe and observe. And we can also use close-ended questions for this purpose. I would explain to you what we mean by closed-ended questions as well as open-ended questions. Then when you go to gather information on perception, that is, you're asking perception questions, you can, for example, you conduct key interviews to confirm through random key informants when the context, within also the context of your what? Of your sampling frame. That is how you confirm perceptions. For example, if you have asked the people about the perceptions they feel about insecurity in their area, you can also go ahead and look at key informants, for example, the DPO in that locality, or the chief security personnel or community, or within the community structures, the chief personnel, or maybe the king or the local leader, to confirm the perceptions the people have about insecurity in their area from those key informant interviews, or from the key informants in that location. So it gives you an idea on how, or the validity of the information that you have obtained. Probably you had asked the wrong people and they didn't get the group. So it could help you put your own data collection in perspective. Now, I said I was going to mention to you what closed-ended questions are and open-ended questions. Because in the course of you conducting your activity, you're going to come in contact with these types of questions. There are certain questions that are closed-ended. And what do we mean by that? These are questions that answers, like when you ask the questions, they give you answers like yes or no. That is specific facts. There are questions with answers like yes or no, or specific facts. They don't need long explanations. Did you attend the conference last week? Yes or no? It's as simple as that. How many days of the week do you go to work? 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Simple. Specific facts. However, when we ask open-ended questions, there are questions that are not just answered with yes or no. They will need further explanation or a detailed description. I give you an example. How do you feel about the sunny weather today? Oh, I feel good. What do you mean by good? I feel relaxed. I feel good because I'm energized. I can go to work happily. I feel good because I can go to the farm. I feel excited. I can talk. I can be happy and go around. They need further explanation. Now I'm going to go through with you some of the rules or guide on how you should collect this data. There are rules to collecting data. You don't just collect data. Now, what are some of the rules on how we can collect data and collect data effectively? One of them is this: record all answers clearly and accurately at the time of the interview. If you're doing, for example, a key informant interview, record them directly also into the electronic device, even if it is a key informant interview or you're asking, just doing a random sampling. Record the information that you have gotten directly into the device. E.g., if you're given a phone, that could be a device, or any other device that you're given to collect data. Even if it's a paper form that you're given to collect data, please collect that data illegibly. Do not assume you know the answer. If you know the answer, then we should be asking you and not sending you to go and collect data from people. So you are not the respondent of target. The respondent of target is the location or the area or the people that you are going to be sent, that you are sent to, not you. So do not assume that you know the answer to the question, such as from previous interviews that you have conducted. For example, you have conducted an interview with someone and you're asking another person probably the same question, and you're using the answers that were provided with the person you interviewed earlier to think that that is the answer, or you expect the other person to provide. No, that is not the case. You are not the person of interest. The person of interest is the person that you're talking to. So always remain neutral and impartial, because you have to give people the opportunity to provide their own their own feedback or answer to a question, not you. So you have to remain neutral. You have to remain impartial. And please do not allow your former knowledge or your superior knowledge, as the case may be, or religious or ethnic views or whatsoever to influence the response of the respondent. The interest is the respondent, not you. You are the data collector, not the respondent. The respondent is not the data collector. The respondent is the one that provides you response. You are the data collector. So you have to remain neutral. So stick to the question. Stick to the question that you are asking. Stick to the question. Ask the question directly and read it right and aloud as you see it on your electronic device to the respondent for them to hear clearly. Now, in a situation where the respondent cannot understand, maybe because of their own shortcomings in terms of knowledge or literacy, now you can reward the question without changing the meaning. If the respondent still doesn't understand what you have said earlier, I mean, when you read it aloud, if the respondent does not get it, you can reward the question, but please do not change the meaning of the question. In some other cases, you may be able to interpret in a local language, that is, if you understand the language. But please, when you interpret the question in a local language, do not change the meaning of the question. Interpret it to the best of your ability in such a way that the person is able to understand what you're saying. Never lead a respondent to a specific response. This is also interesting. Don't lead a respondent to a particular response that you want the respondent to come up with. No, don't lead them. Don't say, okay, yeah, this is it. Don't lead them to a particular response. Yes, no, don't lead them. So you have to allow the respondent to tell you what they know, because it is their own knowledge that is the interest for the research or the interest for the investigation. So never ask a closed-ended question when an open-ended question is possible. So, for example, in your process of rewarding the question, maybe you're trying to reward the question for the understanding of the respondent. Please do not ask a closed-ended question when an open-ended question is what is required, or if it is especially where an open-ended question is, because it's always possible to convert an open-ended question from English to another language, or from a simple English to a more simpler English. You can always frame these questions in that way. Please never create expectations when you have gone out to do your work. Don't create expectations. How do you create expectations? Linking the survey that you're doing to any possible assistance, either from government or from NGO or from the research organization that you're working with, or from the researcher. Please do not link the survey to any possible assistance. Tell them, yes, the reason why you are doing this survey is because government is interested in their matter and government wants to support them. Please do not do such. The simple objective is to go get answers to certain questions. Now, the decision to make something out of the information that you have collected is not up to you as a data collector. So please do not link the survey or link the interviews that you're doing to any possible assistance. When we get to field operations, that is on module, at a later module, I would discuss with you some of the intricacies and some of the challenges that one could face. So we would explain some of all these things earlier. And I expect you during the question and answer session this Saturday. So please ask me some of these questions or some of these things that are not clear so that I can explain them further. Another point is this: treat the interview like a conversation. Please do not approach an interview that, oh, you are approaching it from a place of power dynamics, that, oh, you have come from Abuja or you are from Lagos, and then, no, please treat it like a conversation, like you're conversing with people, just the way you do your conversations at home, in your street, on your walk, or where you do, please. Probe for accurate answers. It is important that you probe for accurate answers. And please check for consistent answers. If a respondent is giving you inconsistent answers, especially sometimes because in data collection, some questions may be intelligently designed to connect answers together. So if you see that those answers, please probe. Say, oh, what do you mean here? Can you explain further? How do you mean? Can you explain further? This is it. So this is how you do it. So an important aspect in all of this is please listen actively to the interviewees and observe them. When you're collecting data, please listen carefully. Do not just collect data and say, oh, yes, okay, or you have your mind or your attention divided. You're collecting data, another attention is on your phone, checking your social media. Let us assume you are using a paper data collection tool. You're collecting using a paper data collection tool, and your mind also is on your social media and you're checking your tweets. No, please. That is not permissible, or we don't encourage that. It's not even allowed. So please listen actively to the interviews when you are asking them the questions and observe them. There's some information that observing their gestures could even tell you. Excuse me. Why accurate data collection is important. The whole essence of going through the rules or the guide of collecting data is to ensure that we get accurate data. Accurate data is very important because it is the foundation of sound decision making, just like I mentioned earlier. It is a foundation of sound decision making. It is from the culmination of the data when analyzed that it can inform decisions. It enables informed, it also informs project implementation and evaluation. Inaccurate data can lead to misguided actions and wasted resources. Helps us in assessing the project effectiveness and impact. That is, maybe we are doing a post-evaluation study or a post-impact survey, or we are doing a post-distribution survey, as the case may be. So you can see why collecting data accurately, collecting this data the right way is important, so that we are not misguided in the decisions that we take. That is why I have provided to you the guide and the steps you need in collecting data. So I'm going to go through now into some of the intricacies of data collection and some of the specifics and some of the key things that we may be requiring from you to collect data. And one of them is population demographics. Now, usually, every data collection that we do, population demographics may be involved. You will need to collect the segregated data of the age, the sex, or of a family or of a household. These are usually very important, and they are usually much available in various locations. However, there are some data collection projects or tasks that you may be working on that may not necessarily want you to spell out in terms of when you are collecting the data. For example, if you're not doing like an economic assessment, usually, because an economic assessment in it, you have the opportunity to put like the family information. For example, if they are doing an assessment of the economic situation of each household in a particular local government or in a particular area. So maybe those economic and social assessments may require you to put the family demographics, but some of them may not. Some of them just want to know what is the total number of people in your household. That is maybe 10 or 15, for example, or some other questions just want to know what is, how many families are here or in this particular local government, and they just want that figure. So depending on the nature of the question that you'll be asked or the task that you'll be given, this is how you would collect the data. However, it is very important for you as a data collector to understand population demographics and how to calculate or how to gather the data for population demographics. And what I mean by population demographic is this. You come to a particular area, we want to understand what is the population in this area and how is the population in this area disaggregated by sex, by number of persons per family, or number of persons per vulnerable group. We may not try to go and count every family if it is not a census per se. We may not necessarily go and count every family. So, but there is a simple way that we can, a simple method that we can employ to do this assessment and get like an average or an overview of what the population dynamics looks like in a particular area. I'll give you, for instance, and that particular approach is what we are trying to define for you here, or what we are trying to define by saying the population demographics. So if you look at the census in Nigeria, the census is going to happen very soon, according to the government. It was planned last year, maybe hopefully this year, or we don't know, next year it will happen. So when it comes to census, census goes family by family and takes this disaggregated data. Now, we may not be involved, or we are not involved in conducting that kind of extensive census. So we may have to do some kind of a way to find out what it looks, to get an estimation of what the family demographics or the population demographics is in an area. And that is why we're going to be doing this. So that's why we're doing this, and that's why we're teaching you this, so that you know how this is done moving forward, so that when there is any assessment that is required of you to do a population demography and to do the demographics of an area, you will be able to do it. Now, how do we do this? We can collect the population demographics of an area through a demographic calculator or tool. And you can also do this by estimates. If a detailed breakdown is collected, like I mentioned to you, you can do this by estimate. If a detailed breakdown, you can also do this by other sources. You can go to the local government area and ask them, oh, please, in your local government, what is the population demographics like? Well, how are they separated between sex and age? How many women or how many girls do you have from the ages of 5 to 10 years old? Like an average, what's the average girls you have in your locality? This is what we mean by the population demography. However, there are other methods of calculating having an estimated population in a place, but then that is not our interest for today, or that's not the interest of this data collection. What our interest is to teach you how to use the demographic calculator, actually. So how do you use the demographic calculator? Like I mentioned, not all data collection tasks will require you to perform this particular function. So, however, should it be required, it is important that you complete it accurately. So I would explain to you how this is done so that you can have an idea of how we do this demographic, or how we use this demographic calculator. So let us assume you are sent to an area and you want to do the demographic calculation. You want to use the demographic calculator to get a sense on how the population is distributed in the particular community. So this is an example of a demographic tool, calculator tool. So you see like there is an age segregation, for example, 6 to 7, 5 to 10, 10, 60 years plus, XYZ. Now, first, you may be required to have, what is the total? So you are required to, this is from 1 to 20. So you are expected to have like 20, to have 20 people, to select 20 families within that particular area to do like this demographic calculator for them. So you go to one family, you said, okay, what is the total number of people in this family? They tell you, how many male children in this your family are between the ages of 0 to 1 years old, or 0 to 3 years old. They tell you, you write male, maybe 5. How many female are between the ages of 0 to 1 years or 0 to 3 years? Of course, this age segregation depends on the investigation or the task that you'll be assigned to. Every task may have their own different age brackets, just so that you know that part. So you do this also for people that are between the ages of 3 years to 5 years, maybe male and female. Then you do for like 6 years to 40 years or 17 years. You do for like male and female. You do here. If they don't have anybody between their age brackets that is a male or a female, just write 0. You do that and you keep doing it, and you calculate the total number of male in that family and the total number of women in the family. Now, an important factor is this. By the time you are doing this segregation between male and female and all that, you will arrive at a total number of males, which is maybe, for instance, the total number of males in the family is 6, and the total number of female in the family is probably 4. And let us assume that when you came to the family and you asked them, oh, what is the total number of people in your family? They said, oh, we are 9 people. You find out that by the time you do your age segregation, you are obtaining 6 and 4. You'll be like, oh, that is 10 people. That cannot be 9. So you have to investigate and understand where the error comes from and probably and correct it. So you will do this for about 20 families that you have identified either randomly, or you identify them in a stratified manner, or you identify them in a nearby manner, or whichever method of sampling you choose, or not you choose, whichever member of sampling that has been identified or you are instructed to follow. That is the sampling method you use to identify these 20 families that you will do this. So by the time you finish this is a very important aspect of the demography. You realize that you would have to calculate in total, the totals here. You have to calculate the total number of children and all that, calculate it here and gives you here. You will also have to do the percentages. You see here that you have to do the percentages of this calculation. So by the time you calculate these total numbers and you do the percentages, you realize that you can say, oh, in this particular area or community, one can say that about 30% of the children in this area are male children between the ages of 0 to 1. So you see how your demographic assessment or your demographic is helping us to understand the population dynamics, okay, or distribution in that particular locality. So that's how you take this example to make your analysis or to make your draw your conclusions. For example, if there's a task that you've been given that is to assess maybe the public health situation in an area, and that area, maybe they discover that children who present in the hospital are always between the ages of maybe 0 to 5. They are presenting in the hospital, for example, for malaria in a particular region or a particular local government or in a particular town. And that 0 to 5 are presenting with malaria. So then, and maybe from the data that they are seeing that, oh, that there is about, out of every case that comes to the hospital, 10 of them are male. Okay, so an interesting thing will be, okay, so what is the possible population of the male children or male children between the ages of 0 to 5 in that particular local government or particular locality? Now, this demographic tool can give you an estimation to have an idea. So if it is a public health situation, those who are in charge of public health can then be informed of what steps to take to know that, okay, in this particular region, we have that about 10%, we have that about 10% of the population to be male under 0 to 5. So if 10% of the population, and probably the total population in the area, maybe from the government's data or census data, is saying that the population is about 1,000 people, and 10% are male children between the ages of 0 to 5. So that means they have about 100 children which are from the ages of 0 to 5. So that can inform them of maybe what steps to take to arrest that public health situation. I've just used this example to make you understand why this tool is important and how we can use this tool, of what benefits this tool can serve, just for you to know. So please, if you have any questions on this tool, I would expect you to ask me during the Q&A sessions. Okay. Now, in the next slide, I will explain to you why accuracy matters, and I will also show you the different kinds of sampling, with caution on how the sampling choice could affect the outcome of your estimation. So why accuracy matters in this population estimation or those demographic calculation? So accurate population estimates are crucial for project planning. Remember, it's very crucial, and inadequate estimations can lead to resource misallocation. I've just mentioned that to you. And here, I just want to show you the sampling techniques that you could use to do these estimations. There are so many sampling approaches you could use. You could use look at this target population here. This is the target population, and this is your sampling here. Observe the color differences of clothes of the people in this representative sample that has been selected here. So observe, you can see the differences in their color of clothes. That tells you that they are a representative of this entire population. Okay, but you can see that those who are wearing blue were not taken into consideration in this sampling. It's only those who wear red, white, black, and yellow. So you see, so it's good that a sampling that you are taking is representative. So if you are taking 20 families in a location to do your demographic assessment or demographic computation, please ensure that you take a representative fraction of that entire population. You can see here, this is a form of sampling. It is random, but you see that it is evenly spread in the whole location. So it's good that even when you're doing a random sampling, it is evenly spread and it covers and everyone is put into the picture. That is how you can get a representative factor. Observe also the coloring of the individuals. So observe here, yes, you have a differentiated individual, but it appears that you are taking them only from a localized place. Here, it appears that they have a different coloring of individuals, but it appears clearly that they took them from different sides or areas of that community. So even if it is random, your randoming can be informed. Your randoming can also be stratified. It can be a stratified random. What we mean by stratified random, like I said, this convenience approach is not like what I pointed to you earlier here is the convenience approach. That is what is here. This convenience approach is not the best usually. So you can also have a stratified random sampling. Stratified, I mean, you can say, okay, these are fish sellers and these ones are okra sellers. And the investigation is to check okra and fish sellers. So you come to okra sellers. Within okra sellers, you take a random sample. 1, 2, 3, 4. You random, but you show that everyone is carried along. Be sure that it is representative of the target population. This is just your own interest, that it is representative of the target population. You can see that the okra seller or the fish sellers here, these are the fish sellers population. They are the target people, but be sure that it is representative, that you collect from, representation. And how do you do it? If you have a task that tells you to go to a place to collect data, and you're going to that data to collect, maybe you want to collect data in a locality. And the question that is, or the design of the investigation is to ask everybody, regardless of age, sex, gender, or economic class, both the rich, the poor, and every class of the economy. So you must ensure that you have a representative sampling of the target population. It means you're going to ask a child, ask an elderly, ask the rich, ask the poor, ask the religious, ask the non-religious. This is how you make a representative of a population. Because you can go to a population and maybe the investigation is on a matter that has to cut across everybody, irrespective of ethnic group, culture, race, or tradition, or age, or sex, and you end up asking only maybe Christians or asking only Muslims, you find out that that is not a representative fraction of the entire population of that particular area or area where you are sent to work. So it's important that you take this seriously. So, however, I will mention again that the steps or the approaches that you will take will be informed to you. It will be part of your tax brief for each particular. But here, what we are doing here is we are giving you the general understanding across board so that when you go into your work, you have an understanding already of how this is done. So I'll give you a case study. I'll tell you to do this. Let's take an imaginary community called Rainworld. Just imagine there's a community called Rainworld. So I would ask you to use the demographic calculator. I will share the link also in the comment sections, and as well as send this link also to all the RAIN data collectors that has registered on the RAIN portal, that registered on this on the RAIN project. So imagine you are using a random sampling of 20 families. Now I want to tell you to assign random numbers on the basis of any real life families that you know around, okay? Just assign numbers in terms of their distribution between the ages and their sex on the basis of what? The numbers of a real life family that you know, just to get a sense of what we mean by this segregation so that you can have like how it's done, you can imagine it and understand how it is done. So highlight the impact of accurate estimation on the project success. So the whole essence of this is to help you highlight the impact of accurate estimation on project success. That's why we are doing this this example. So please try this, and I want to know what your experience was like. And yeah, I just want to know, do all the computations. I just want to know what your experience is like, and please share in the comment section or also during the question and answer period. And I hope that it benefits you. All right. So next, we go to the different sectors that we are working on this RAIN data collectors or collection project. So, like I said, it is a service offering of our project. So as a RAIN data collector, you will be collecting data on different sectors that we're working with, be it government, be it NGOs, be it universities, be it academics, because this is the nature of work that we are doing. So you'll be collecting data for all sectors. Of course, it has to deal in the context of the scope of our work that we mentioned to you earlier. What we do is market research, we do social research, we do academic research, and we do assessments for development organizations. And you can find all these things I've mentioned here. They are all representatives here. They are all here. So we have a sectorial differentiation of our data collectors, because when you are filling the form, we asked you which sectors you've worked on or you are interested in working on. So we have already differentiated you into sectors. However, we'll be having deep dive training on sectoral assessment or sectoral information for some people as you progress in this, because we are looking at working at all of you on a long run. You will be on a long run with us. We'll be like our data collectors on standby on our rosters of data collectors, because when we have any assignment or any task in your given areas, we will call upon you to come and make some quick money as data collectors on this project. So that's why we are doing this. So we're going to be working. So as time goes on, we're going to differentiate all of you into sectors, and you do a deep dive into sectorial. You do a deep dive into different sectors. Of course, that is in the second stage of this, the RAIN data collector. As RAIN data collector, that will be your second level, where we go sectorially, deep dive into different sectors. Some of you will become specialists in emergency response, in emergency, in flooding. Some of you become specialists in certain areas, in market research, in social research, in opinion polls. You become experts in those areas. Okay, so at this level, you are doing is general data collection. You understand the principles, you understand the basics, you know how it works. Now, data collection tools. Now, for our work, we would be using, like I said, the digital data collection form. And in some cases, in very rare cases, we'll be using the forms. Very rare. But most importantly, we would be using digital data collection tools. That is your phone, the computers, and XYZ. And I want to let you know that there are so many tools out there, so many of them. But for the reason and the purpose of our work, we will be using some of these tools that many of you may be familiar with it, like the Cobalt Toolbox, the ODKs, and some other ones that TeamScope, that you all are familiar with. These are the basic tools we'll be using. However, in some special situations, you may be given a different type of tool to do this data collection. But those information or those details will be shared with you when the time comes. So why do we use mobile data collection? So like I said, it will be our primary data tool. So it allows us for what? For digital to take digital surveys and forms on mobile devices. Like I said, one of our big goal is to do what? To break down the walls of geography and time. So this is what mobile data collection tools allows us, and is everywhere you go, you know. It simplifies this data collection, storage, and the management. Of course, when you get your data, you collect it via phone, you upload or you submit the form, it goes onto the server. We, in our locations anywhere across the world, can get the data, analyze it. Of course, we can call you, feed you, and tell you, oh, XYZ, the data you collected here is because this is also how we can be tracking your work. We can be tracking the quality of the data you are bringing to us. Because when we look at it, they'll say, oh, come on, your data is incomplete. The data, the information you are putting, we can see if you're not paying attention. We can see from all our analysis, if you're not paying attention, we can easily see that. So, and the interesting thing that it reduces manual data entry, also errors. The errors of data entry will be reduced. This is also like if we're entering data from paper to the laptop, this is why we are opting for these mobile or digital data collection tools. The benefit is increased speed, accuracy, and efficiency. This is well known. However, there is a challenges in using mobile data collection tools. The challenges are technical issues, access to devices, and also training, which is what it becomes a challenge when people don't know. But the approaches that we'll be using will be the ones on your phone, and we'll run through the whole trainings with you just to make sure that you understand it and you know that, okay, this is how it's done. So I hope that this module has been interesting to you, and on behalf of Research in Nigeria project, we say thank you, and see you at the question and answer session, and let me know of your experience. So, and also if you have any questions, something is confusing, I would share that with you. Thank you very much. Okay, bye.